Hello, my name is Martin Förlinger, and in the next two videos I'm going to show you the basics of terrain in Lumberyard. Now first of all, we'll have a look at what we're going to create. Now if you already are able to create this level of terrain, then this tutorial is too basic for you, please move on. For the rest of you, we're going to look at what you will learn. You will learn how to create terrain inside Lumberyard, how to import a height map, how to sculpt it inside Lumberyard, and how to approach rivers and caves. Though rivers and caves are theory only, which means I'm not going to create rivers or caves directly. You'll also learn how to texture your terrain, and in this process we're going to look at how to get textures into your Lumberyard, how to use the resource compiler to tell it exactly how we want our textures to be compiled, how to create terrain layer materials, and these are not the same like in Unreal Engine 4 if you come from Unreal Engine 4. We're going to learn how to paint the terrain. We're going to learn how to change the terrain texture resolution so your painted layers won't look so blocky. And we're going to learn how to flood the terrain in order to simplify our workflow and get a basic terrain texture going very quick. Now what you will need, you have to have a working installation of Lumberyard. You will need a basic knowledge of how to use Lumberyard. You will need to understand how physically based shading works in a spec gloss workflow. I'm not going to teach you how to create an albedo map or a spec and a gloss map. You will need your way around your favorite image manipulation program, but most importantly, you will need to be able to help yourself. This tutorial will raise more questions that it will answer, most likely, and it's up to you to search the documentation or ask in the forums. You really have to help yourself in order to get started with game creation in general. Now, for the software used, obviously, we're going to use Lumberyard, and I used L3DT for the terrain height map we're going to import. It is even free for commercial purposes. And we're also going to use Krita for texturing, because it can handle 16-bit images and we need that ability in order to get our normal maps correct. Now how does the terrain work in general? The terrain inside Lumberyard is height map based, which means you have a texture where each pixel corresponds to a certain amount of meters in the terrain. And this means that you have a limited detail size, and that means you cannot paint details that are below 1 meter in size. You also cannot have caves or overhangs. And the dimension of the terrain is limited, but you can go beyond that limit by using meshes, though this will eventually introduce precision issues. The terrain has its own lot system, so use the terrain whenever possible. You need high-pass textures, which are textures that are stripped from their low-frequency details, or better, the big details inside the texture. You'll need to set up a special shader. The terrain can have holes, and this is how you create a cave, essentially. But you're limited in your painting resolution, and we'll look at that later in the tutorial. But the more you increase that limit, the more memory your terrain is going to consume. Alright, that's it for the introduction. In the next video, we're going to learn how to create our terrain. Thanks a lot.